In December 2024, a piece of news goes viral across Indian news channels and social media worldwide. Yemen's president, Rashad al-Alimi, has rejected the mercy petition of Indian nurse Nimisha Priya, and the 30-day countdown has begun. Within these 30 days, Nimisha Priya, who once arrived in Yemen from Kerala full of hope and ambition, will now face the death penalty. The reason? She murdered alleged business partner and Yemeni citizen Talal Abdul Mahdi, who was also considered her legal husband under Yemeni law. However, Talal was not her only husband. Nimisha's actual husband, Tommy Thomas, resides in Kerala. Following the murder, with the help of a friend, Nimisha dismembered Talal's body and hid it in a water tank. Now, another piece of news has surfaced. Reports suggest that Yemen's president never actually ratified Nimisha Priya's death sentence. According to a statement from the Yemeni embassy in India, the entire case is under the control of Yemen's Houthi militia, and the Yemeni president has no involvement in her death penalty decision. The world's attention has turned to Nimisha Priya's story, but opinions remain divided. Is she a victim of injustice who deserves a chance at justice, or is she an unrepentant cold-blooded killer, unworthy of forgiveness? Today, we bring you the life story of Nimisha Priya on Some Stories, who she is, why she has been sentenced to death, and whether this punishment is just or not. We will also explore how Nimisha ended up with two husbands and the ongoing efforts of activists, the government, and her family to save her from the death penalty. What are her chances of survival, and who really holds the power to decide her fate? We'll dive into all of this in today's episode. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to subscribe, share, and leave your comments. Before we start, please note that today's episode includes details of violence, murder, and distressing events. If such topics affect you, we kindly request you to skip this video. We'll see you in another episode with a different story. Now, let's dive into today's story. Nimisha Priya was born in Palakkad, Kerala, where her family struggled to make ends meet. Her parents were daily wage laborers, but even at a young age, Nimisha dreamt big. She excelled in her studies and, with financial support from her local church, completed a nursing diploma. In 2008, at just 19 years old, Nimisha left for Yemen to uplift her family's financial situation and secure a better future. She began working at a government hospital in a small town called Sana'a. By 2011, her hard work significantly improved her family's financial condition. She returned to India and married Tommy Thomas, an auto rickshaw driver. After their marriage, they returned to Yemen together to build a life with their newborn daughter, Michelle. But by 2013, financial pressures began mounting, making life in Dubai unaffordable for the family. Nimisha worked as a nurse in a clinic, while Tommy Thomas took up a labor job. However, their meager incomes made it increasingly difficult to care for their child. As a result, in 2014, they were forced to return to India. After some time, Tommy and Nimisha decided to take a bold step towards securing their family's future. They planned to open their own clinic in Yemen. To fund this dream, they borrowed nearly $60,000 from friends and acquaintances, and Nimisha returned to Yemen. In Yemen, any business initiative requires a local partner due to legal provisions. Nimisha decided to seek the help of a trusted businessman, Talal Abdul Mahdi. Talal owned a small clothing shop, and his wife had given birth at the clinic where Nimisha worked. This is how they became acquainted. In January 2015, when Nimisha traveled to Kerala for her daughter's baptism, Mahdi accompanied her on the trip. Nimisha's family even hosted Talal and showed him around Kerala. However, Nimisha did not seek Talal's help to establish her clinic. Instead, she obtained her clinic's license with the support of Abdul Latir, the clinic's current owner. In exchange, Nimisha agreed to give Latir 33% of her earnings. Their clinic, Al Aman Medical Center, was established in 2015 and quickly became a success. While Nimisha was in the process of bringing her husband and daughter to Yemen, tragedy struck. In March 2015, Yemen was engulfed in a civil war. The city of Sana'a, where Nimisha lived, was taken over by the Houthi militia, and it still remains under their control to this day. Due to the civil war, all Indian citizens and foreign nationals were evacuated from Yemen, and the Indian government even shut down its embassy in the country. However, Nimisha refused to leave her newly opened clinic because she was burdened with loans worth millions, and the clinic had finally started generating income. This decision to stay in Yemen would go on to change Nimisha's life forever. Before continuing the story, here's a question for you. If you were in Nimisha's position, what would you have done? Would you prioritize paying off the loans or your life? Would you have returned home or stayed in Yemen? Share your thoughts in the comment box below. So, due to the civil war, Nimisha's husband, Thomas, and her daughter were unable to come to Yemen. Meanwhile, Talal began revealing his true, sinister nature. Initially, Nimisha's clinic operated successfully, with Talal helping her manage it. But behind Nimisha's growing success, Talal began sowing seeds of betrayal. His intentions were never pure. Talal started forging documents, claiming ownership of both the clinic and Nimisha herself. Soon he began demanding a share of the clinic's income and even registered the clinic's vehicles in his name. Without Nimisha's knowledge, Talal added himself as a shareholder in the clinic and began taking monthly earnings. He even told the clinic's manager that Nimisha was his wife. When Nimisha confronted Talal after learning this from the manager, he tried to manipulate her by saying, "You are alone here, a single woman. It's difficult for you to manage. That's why I called you my wife." But Talal's greed wasn't limited to money. It quickly turned into a thirst for control. He confiscated Nimisha's passport and convinced his father and others that he and Nimisha were married. Back when Talal had accompanied Nimisha on her trip to Kerala, he secretly had stolen her wedding photos. He later altered those pictures to include his own image and claimed that he and Nimisha were married. Talal even managed to forge fake marriage documents to support his claim. Talal physically abused Nimisha and took control of her assets, income, and even the clinic. When Nimisha resisted, Talal used violence to silence her. Nimisha's husband, Thomas, was thousands of miles away in India, helpless. Their short phone calls were filled with tears, but there was little Thomas could do from afar. According to him, Nimisha had nearly 22 SIM cards because Talal would often seize them, forcing her to buy new ones repeatedly. Talal's abuse didn't end there. He would forcefully enter Nimisha's home, bringing his friends along and compel her to endure unimaginable acts. For Nimisha, each day became a battle for survival. By July 2017, Nimisha's desperation reached its peak. She devised a plan with the help of a prison warden to inject Talal with a sedative and force him to reveal where her passport was hidden, but this plan went horribly wrong. According to Nimisha, Talal had been to jail numerous times, some due to her complaints, while others were related to external accusations like assault, financial fraud, and issuing threats. Because of these repeated incidents, Talal and Nimisha often had to visit the jail near their clinic. The prison warden, who was also one of Nimisha's patients, suggested a way to retrieve her passport. He advised her to sedate Talal, take him to a secluded area, and he would help her get her passport back. Following the warden's advice, Nimisha injected Talal with a sedative, but it had no effect because Talal was an addict and the dose didn't impact him. In July 2017, Nimisha administered another dose of the injection to Talal. However, things didn't go as planned. Within minutes, Talal collapsed to the ground, screamed, and suddenly stopped moving. When Nimisha checked Talal's pulse, he was already dead. According to Nimisha, she had no intention of killing Talal. However, the combination of the sedative and Talal's drug addiction triggered a fatal reaction, which turned Nimisha into a murderer. Panicking, Nimisha called her friend Hanan, who lived in the same apartment building. Hanan, a nurse, was aware of Nimisha's struggles with Talal, and Hanan chopped Talal's body into pieces and hid them inside the water tank. According to Nimisha, she has little memory of the incident because, in her distressed state, she had taken a sedative herself. Both Nimisha and Hanan were arrested by the end of July 2017. During the trial, the court sentenced Nimisha to the death penalty. Hanan, who was a co-accused in Talal's murder, was sentenced to life imprisonment. This act was horrific, but Nimisha repeatedly stated that her intention was never to kill. She only wanted to retrieve her passport from Talal. As the days are passing, Nimisha's future rests in the hands of those fighting to save her. Activists and lawyers continue their relentless efforts, but questions remain. Should she be saved? Or should she face the consequences of her actions? Murder is still murder. According to Nimisha's legal representatives, her case was unfair. The court-appointed lawyer lacked experience, and crucial evidence, such as Talal's forged marriage certificate, was ignored. In 2020, she was sentenced to death. Certain aspects of Nimisha's actions raise questions about her intentions and credibility. Like thousands of others, instead of leaving Yemen for her own safety, Nimisha decided to remain in a war-torn and conflict-ridden area. Furthermore, her plan to retrieve her passport by injecting Talal with a powerful sedative, assisted by a prison warden, suggests the possibility of premeditated murder. Nimisha didn't report Talal's death immediately and sought help from her friend Hanan instead. While she may have been desperate, her actions could be interpreted as an attempt to cover up a crime. Her decision to sedate Talal, dismember his body, and flee the scene with Hanan presents a premeditated plan which weakens her defense and makes it difficult to consider her completely innocent. Nimisha's family in Kerala, including her husband Thomas and daughter Michelle, still hold on to the hope that Nimisha will return. Nimisha's mother Prema has been making regular trips to Yemen, desperately trying to save her daughter, but time is running out quickly. Now, Nimisha's only hope lies in one option: blood money. According to Yemeni law, Nimisha's only chance for survival is through blood money, compensation to Talal's family in exchange for forgiveness of the murder. Activists estimate this amount to be $84,000 to $360,000, but discussions for the settlement are still uncertain. The concept of blood money raises a question: can money truly define justice, or is it simply a way to close a case? Share your thoughts in the comment box below. If you lose a family member and were offered either the death of the guilty party or a large sum of money as compensation, what would you choose? Nimisha Priya's story is filled with pain and struggle. Talal broke her trust, kept her under his control, and in her attempt to save her life, Nimisha went from being a victim to a criminal. In Nimisha's case, it's hard to separate what is right and what is wrong, but when it comes to deciding whether Nimisha lives or dies, the final decision lies in Talal's family's hands. They can choose to save her by accepting money or allow her to face the death penalty by rejecting it. Nimisha's story forces us to reflect. Were her actions taken to save her life, or was it a premeditated murder? Similarly, should Talal's family accept the blood money and forgive Nimisha for the suffering she endured at his hands, or should she face the death penalty? After all, a murder is still a murder. What do you think? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. With this question, we have come to the end of today's episode. Thank you so much for listening. Please do share, subscribe, and like if you liked today's story. Until we meet next time, stay safe, keep spreading love, and keep listening and sharing some stories.